I'm Jackwell Feris, so I'm a partner at the South African office of CDH and also the sector head for industrials, manufacturing and trade. So today's event, so you'll also see the title says Towards Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. So this is an agenda that is set by the African Union through all the member states of the African Union, saying that as Africa we need to reindustrialize or industrialize in order to see much greater prosperity for the continent. That's the only way we can catapult millions of Africans out of poverty into the middle class and ensure sustainable economic growth. Now, today's topic is about rethinking industrialization. So what do we mean by industrialization? And we've seen industrialization in various other forms. We talk about the fourth industrial revolution. We look at what's happening in Asia in terms of where they came from, in terms of from a manufacturing base. We've seen significant economic development in the Asian region, and specifically China. We've seen changes in the form of industrialization in other regions, whether it's in the Americas, whether it's in Europe, where we talk about electric mobility and we talk about AI and the evolution of industries. So what do we mean when we say that Africa needs to rethink industrialization? Now, as I mentioned, manufacturing has played a significant role in the industrialization of many economies. And it has been identified by various studies, whether the World Bank, whether the World Economic Forum, that for Africa to be successful, we need to start developing specific manufacturing nodes, creating regional value addition. And how does that happen? So the first steps in the process has been what we call the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So most of you might have heard of this in the news or have read about it, and it's very laudable objectives. So it sets out objectives where 54 states in Africa has come together and signed a treaty establishing a free trade area. Now that free trade area is intended to integrate the economies and create a market where traders who manufacture goods can access a market of almost 1.3 billion people. But it's easier said than done. And we've seen this. So if you look at trade currently on the African continent in comparison with what happens either in Europe, intra-regional trade in Europe, intra-regional trade in the Americas or in Asia, that is significantly more than what we see in Africa. If you take the statistics for the past 4 years, from 2017 or 2016 up until 2020 or 2019, the average trade, intra-Africa trade, I'm not talking about trade into the continent, but trade amongst the African countries is about 15%. That's very, very low. And one of the reasons again for that is that there is not a sufficient manufacturing capacity. So there's a need to invest in expanding the manufacturing capacity on the continent. And that's the opportunity ultimately that awaits a number of businesses on the continent in investing in manufacturing, because the benefits of manufacturing on the continent gives you access to a free trade market. Essentially, no tariffs on your goods, ease of customs, reduction of trade barriers, whether technical in terms of technical standards that are imposed by various countries on the continent, other trade issues. So those are the benefits, but it's not easy, because what we also have is we need to, as a continent, there needs to be uniformity in terms of industrial policies. How do we encourage regional integration?
So I just want to give you a brief background or insight into Cliff Decker-Hoffmeyer and where we fit into this entire narrative regarding industrials, manufacturing and trade. Jackwell set the background with Agenda 63 and Agenda 2063, and the level of ambition that has been demonstrated by the AU in respect of this agenda is, if you've had the chance to look at it, quite high, to say the very least. it's got 15 pillars, envisioning a high-speed rail network connecting all African capitals. It envisions a dam that produces 40,000 megawatts and supplies clean, cheap electricity to Africans across the continent, to manufacturers, to sort of spur on growth in that industry while reducing production costs. I mean, it's got the African passport that allows free movement and capacity to work for African citizens across the continent. Labor being a key factor in production would be of interest to manufacturers. And of course, the AFCFTA, which creates a free trade area across the continent. I could go on and on. There's 15 pillars, but they're all very ambitious. I mean, if you look at them, you might wonder, is this just a paper that's meant to make us feel good about ourselves as Africans? Or is it something that we tangibly, truly, honestly believe we will realize within our lifetimes? A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And realizing the FTA is just the beginning. The other steps, I believe very much so, I'm a Pan-Africanist myself, will follow in due course, hopefully sooner rather than later. And we as CDH want to be part of the regionalization narrative. And the setting up of a Nairobi office for CDH fits in perfectly into that narrative. We want to partner with clients within the industrial, manufacturing and trade sector to regionalize their operations, to take advantage of not just the national markets, but markets that lie beyond their borders within Africa. And we believe that as CDH, with a Pan-African vision, with now a new footprint within Kenya, and local best friend council advice and support within various jurisdictions in Africa, we are well positioned to assist our clients within this sector to become part of the regionalization narrative.